Anyone who thinks that history is a boring list of dates and names is greatly mistaken. In fact, it is a lively and vibrant science, whose events sometimes resemble the plots of works of fiction. The famous Emir Timur, also known as Tamerlane, decided to take India for himself. According to the official version, this was because of the Indians' different religion. The Turkic-Mongol conqueror encountered serious resistance only when he approached Delhi. Maluk Khan's troops met the uninvited guests with 120 war elephants, which seriously frightened Tamerlane's soldiers. They had to improvise. Emir Timur found an unusual solution. He ordered all available camels to be loaded with straw and sent against the elephants. With one important detail, the straw had to be set on fire first. The crazed camels caused complete chaos in the battle. It is impossible to say for sure what the war elephants were thinking, but they clearly did not like the situation. The frightened animals began to retreat, throwing off their drivers and trampling soldiers along the way. Tamerlane won this battle. In the Middle Ages, there was an unusual water ritual, trial by river or lake. The tradition dates back to ancient Babylon. The suspect, shackled in chains, was placed in the water. If he sank, he was innocent because the holy element only accepts the righteous. But if they floated to the surface, they received the highest punishment. According to the beliefs of that time, witchcraft endowed the servants of evil forces with supernatural lightness. This allowed them to fly fearlessly to their covens without bumping their heads on trees. Therefore, when tested with water, witches floated like algae. One judge even suggested simplifying the test by weighing the suspects on scales. But the inquisitors preferred the good, old diving method. The ancient Romans believed that gloomy faces at funerals could upset the deceased. And an angry dead person is not a good thing. So professional clowns were invited to funeral ceremonies. Their task was to cheer up the grieving relatives with jokes, grimaces, and pantomimes, while impersonating the deceased. The clowns wore masks and copied the mannerisms and voice of the deceased. An original outlook on life, no doubt about it. The profession of funeral clown was highly respected. In the Czech Republic, this tradition is still alive today. A method of treating wounds, known as cauterization, has been around for a long time. Doctors believed that high temperatures caused blood to coagulate, which meant that the patient would feel better. Therefore, in the Middle Ages, a red-hot piece of iron was carefully applied to the affected area, whether it was a cut or a tooth. Cauterization was even recommended for hemorrhoids. However, this required experience. Usually, the healer placed leeches around the patient's fifth point and tirelessly recited a prayer to Saint Fiacre. He helped those suffering from hemorrhoids. If the complaint was about an enemy arrow, then cauterization was also necessary. The affected area was doused with boiling oil. A little later, the talented barber Ambrose Pare was the first to notice that patients who underwent cauterization suddenly passed away for some reason. But those who did not undergo the procedure were more likely to recover. History knows many cases when the results of baking turned into real weapons. In the spring of 1801, an interesting crime was documented in Wales. The brothers Morgan and William Hopkin had a disagreement and got into a serious argument. Out of spite, the former used a white brick as a throwing weapon and hit his relative in the groin. A few days later, William died, and Morgan was convicted of negligent homicide. In 193 AD, something truly surreal happened. The Roman Empire was put up for auction. It all began with the assassination of Emperor Lucius Aelius Aurelius Commodus, the very same one from the movie Gladiator. The conspirators appointed the honest Pertinax as the new ruler, but soon the Praetorian Guard rose up against him. These tough guys were used to receiving donations from the new emperor, a hefty bribe. Otherwise, they would face reprisals. Pertinax, a man of principle, refused to pay, so the Praetorians gave him a one-way ticket. After that, the guards went crazy. They put the Roman Empire up for auction. The winner of the auction was the wealthy senator Didius Julianus, who offered a sum that was insane for those times: 25,000 sesterces for each guard. However, as in Pushkin Salieri, craftsmen are needed for the craft. The Praetorians themselves were defeated for selling the empire. In the Middle Ages, witch hunts were truly grim events. From 1542 onwards, anything inexplicable was outlawed in England. Any witchcraft or sorcery was considered a serious offense, punishable by death without question. The last, which was convicted in 1727. Poor Janet Horn was accused of her daughter being born disabled. They said it was a sure sign that the mother flew to the Sabbath riding on her child. In 1735, witchcraft ceased to be a crime. However, it was strictly forbidden to pretend to be a witch. In fact, it turned out that flying on a broomstick was normal. Roasting frogs in a cauldron was fine. But if you called yourself a witch, you would end up in prison. If you liked the video, then don't forget to put a like and subscribe to the channel. There will be a lot of interesting, shocking, and exciting things ahead.